First contact and deception. The Vespasian Empire had consumed 17 worlds across 3 star systems. Their conquest was methodical, efficient, and absolute. It was not born of necessity or survival, but of an ancient belief that the universe belonged to them by divine right. Their warships, massive, crystalline structures that resembled enormous translucent mantises, carried weapons that could reduce planets to ash. First Admiral Kelver stood on the observation deck of the Dominator, his flagship that stretched nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern. His 6 elongated limbs were folded in formal meditation stance as his compound eyes studied the holographic representation of the small blue-green planet that rotated before him. Earth, he said, the word sounding harsh and clipped in the Vespasian tongue. Such an unimaginative name for a world. Tell me again why we should bother with these primitives. Science Director Mithril approached, her iridescent exoskeleton catching the light. They are unusual, Admiral. Despite their technological inferiority, they've developed faster than any species we've encountered. From basic flight to rudimentary space travel in less than 2 centuries. Fascinating, but hardly threatening, Kelver replied, dismissing the hologram with a wave of his upper appendage. What are their defenses like? Primitive. Nuclear weapons, a small fleet of orbital stations, and a handful of interplanetary vessels. Nothing that could challenge even a single ship of our fleet. Kelver's mandibles clicked in amusement. Then why not simply take what we want? Why this diplomatic charade? Mithril's antennae twitched, a sign of caution among her kind. Intelligence suggests they possess something rare. Adaptability. Every other species we've conquered had centuries, sometimes millennia of stable development. These humans, they change, evolve their thinking rapidly. It would be prudent to assess them more thoroughly before engagement. Very well, Kelver conceded. We'll send a diplomatic vessel, make the usual promises of cultural exchange and technological gifts. Let them think we come in peace while we map their defenses and resource centers. As you command, First Admiral. Commander Elena Chen stood ramrod straight as the alien delegation filed into the United Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva. The Vespasians towered over the human delegation, their insectoid forms both fascinating and unsettling. For 3 months since first contact, Earth had been in a state of cautious excitement. An advanced alien civilization had reached out, offering friendship and knowledge. Yet something about the Vespasians made the hairs on the back of Elena's neck stand up. Perhaps it was the way their translator devices seemed to struggle with concepts like cooperation and equality, or how their scientists showed particular interest in Earth's mineral deposits and population centers. Commander Chen, General Williams whispered as they observed the proceedings. The Phoenix is ready for its shakedown cruise. Your crew is standing by. Elena nodded slightly. The Phoenix was humanity's ace, an experimental vessel incorporating technology that had been developed in secret for decades. Only a handful of people knew its true capabilities. Sir, I still believe we should delay the diplomatic signing until we've had more time to. The Security Council has made its decision, Commander. Williams cut her off. We can't risk offending our new allies based on your intuition. Elena bit her tongue. She'd been monitoring communications between the Vespasian diplomatic vessel and their fleet, which they claimed was waiting at the edge of the solar system out of respect for human sovereignty. Their translators didn't know that Elena had developed an algorithm to decode their encrypted transmissions. What she'd found confirmed her worst fears. The Vespasians weren't allies. They were conquerors, and Earth was next on their list. 3 days later, Elena's fears were realized. The signing ceremony for the Earth-Vespasian Friendship Accord was interrupted when the sky above Geneva lit up with the arrival of the Vespasian battle fleet. They hadn't been waiting at the edge of the solar system. They'd been hiding behind Jupiter's moons, preparing for invasion. The Vespasian ambassador's translator device emitted a harsh, mechanical laugh as chaos erupted in the assembly hall. Did you truly believe a species as primitive as yours would be offered equality? You will serve the Empire or be eradicated. The first strikes hit Earth's major defense installations simultaneously. Orbital defense platforms were sliced apart by energy weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. Ground-based missile silos erupted in mushroom clouds as they were targeted before they could launch their payloads. Elena raced through the burning corridors of the defense headquarters, pulling General Williams along with her. We need to get to the Phoenix. It's our only chance. It's an untested prototype. Williams coughed through the smoke. Against their entire fleet. It's that or surrender, sir. And I don't think the Vespasians are big on accepting surrenders. They'd reached the underground maglev that would take them to the hidden launch facility in the Alps. As they sped through the tunnel, Elena's secure comm unit lit up with reports of devastation worldwide. Major cities were under attack. Civilian casualties were mounting. What makes you think one ship can make a difference? Williams asked, his voice hollow with shock. Elena's eyes hardened. Because they don't know what we're capable of, sir. They think they know humanity, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see. The Phoenix didn't look like much from the outside. A relatively small vessel compared to the Vespasian warships, roughly the size of a 20th century aircraft carrier. Its sleek, matte black hull absorbed light rather than reflected it, giving it the appearance of a shadow against the stars. As Elena took command on the bridge, her hand-picked crew worked with practiced efficiency despite the desperate circumstances. They had trained for this mission for years, though none had expected their first deployment to be humanity's last stand. All systems online, Commander, reported Lieutenant Quan from the tactical station. Quantum drives at full capacity. Adaptive shield grid initialized. Weapons? Elena asked, strapping herself into the command chair. All operational, but untested against Vespasian defenses, Quan replied grimly. Elena nodded. Communications, broadcast on all frequencies, in Vespasian language if possible. This is Commander Elena Chen of the UES Phoenix to Vespasian Fleet. You have committed an act of war against Earth. Cease your attack immediately or face the consequences. The response was almost immediate. A barrage of energy weapons from 3 Vespasian cruisers that had broken off from the main fleet to intercept them. Evasive maneuvers, Elena ordered. Let's show them what this ship can do. The Phoenix moved with impossible agility, banking and rolling around the energy beams in a way that defied conventional physics. One blast grazed their hull, but the adaptive shields absorbed and redistributed the energy with barely a flicker. Return fire, Elena commanded. Targeted strikes only. I want them to know we're not firing blindly. The Phoenix's main weapon system, christened the Excalibur Array, powered up. Unlike the brute force weapons of earlier human designs, the Excalibur was precision incarnate. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out, each one striking exactly where Elena's tactical officer had aimed. The propulsion systems of the lead Vespasian cruiser, the crystalline appendages that housed the alien vessel's drive system shattered, sending it spinning out of formation. The other 2 cruisers immediately adjusted their attack pattern, but seemed confused by the precision of the Phoenix's strike. They expected us to target their weapons or command center, Elena observed. They don't understand human strategy yet. Commander, I'm picking up a transmission from the Vespasian flagship, the communications officer reported. They're laughing at us. Elena's lips curved into a tight smile. Let them laugh. Prepare for Phase 2. We're taking the fight to them. The Phoenix rises. First Admiral Kelvert was not concerned when the first reports of the unusual human vessel reached the Dominator. A single ship, no matter how advanced for human standards, could not hope to challenge the might of the Vespasian armada. He was mildly surprised when the vessel disabled one of his cruisers with a precision strike, but considered it a lucky shot. Merely a nuisance, he told his command staff. Continue the planetary bombardment. Focus on their military installations and government centers. Once their resistance is broken, we'll begin resource extraction. First Admiral, his tactical officer interrupted. The human vessel is approaching rapidly. It's on an intercept course with the fleet. Kelvor's mandibles clicked with amusement. Let it come. Assign 2 more cruisers to deal with it. I want the vessel captured if possible. Their weapon technology may be worth studying. But the battle did not unfold as Kelvor anticipated. The Phoenix moved unlike any spacecraft the Vespasians had encountered, seeming to predict their attack patterns before they executed them. It danced between the massive Vespasian ships, striking with surgical precision at key systems, not to destroy, but to disable. They're targeting our sensors and communication arrays, the tactical officer reported with growing concern. 3 cruisers have lost long-range detection capabilities. Kelvor's amusement faded. Enough of this. Target all available weapons on that ship. I don't care if it's destroyed. Aboard the Phoenix, Alina Chen watched the Vespasian fleet reposition itself. The massive alien vessels were beginning to focus their attention on the Phoenix rather than Earth, exactly as she had planned. They're taking the bait, she told her crew. Every shot they fire at us is one they're not firing at Earth. Lieutenant Quan looked up from his tactical display. Commander, they're coordinating a massive barrage. Even with our maneuverability, we can't evade all of them. We don't need to evade, Alina replied calmly. Activate the quantum mirror. This was the Phoenix's true secret, technology that even most of Earth's leadership didn't know existed. Based on principles that merged quantum entanglement with advanced electromagnetic manipulation, the quantum mirror didn't block enemy attacks, it redirected them. As dozens of energy beams converged on the Phoenix, the space around the ship seemed to ripple like the surface of a pond. The beams struck this distortion and changed direction. Not randomly, but precisely according to targeting solutions that Lieutenant Quan had prepared. The Vespasians' own weapons fire struck their fleet's communication nodes, weapon emplacements, and engine systems. In seconds, 4 more enemy vessels were adrift, their crews confused and panicking as their own attacks were turned against them. Impossible. Alina heard the Vespasian admiral exclaim over an open channel. What trickery is this? This is Commander Chen, she responded, allowing herself a small smile. This isn't trickery, Admiral. This is human ingenuity, something your intelligence reports clearly fail to appreciate. Kelvor was no longer amused. Half his fleet was either disabled or struggling with critical system failures, all because of a single human vessel that had somehow turned the Vespasian's superior firepower against them. All ships maintain distance from the human vessel, he ordered. Recalibrate weapons for area effect rather than direct targeting. His tactical officer's antennae drooped in distress. First Admiral, our ships cannot maintain formation. The human vessel is somehow disrupting our navigation systems. This was another of the Phoenix's hidden capabilities, quantum field manipulation that subtly altered the fabric of space-time around enemy vessels, causing their navigation systems to receive false readings. Then launch all fighters, Kelvor commanded, his voice rising with uncharacteristic emotion. Surround it. Overwhelm it with numbers. Hundreds of smaller Vespasian attack craft poured from the hangars of the remaining operational warships. Unlike their capital ships, these fighters were piloted by living Vespasians rather than controlled by automated systems, making them less vulnerable to electronic countermeasures. Aboard the Phoenix, Alina watched the swarm approach. They're adapting, she noted with professional admiration. Quan, activate the Hive defense system. The Phoenix's hull rippled as thousands of microdrones deployed, each no larger than a hummingbird. These autonomous defensive units had been designed specifically to counter swarm attacks, using collective intelligence algorithms based on Earth's insect colonies, ironically similar to Vespasian social structures. The drones intercepted the alien fighters, not by destroying them, but by attaching to their hulls and interfering with their control systems. Vespasian pilots found their fighters suddenly unresponsive or executing commands they hadn't given. The carefully coordinated attack dissolved into chaos as fighters collided with each other or veered away from their target. Commander, the Phoenix's science officer called out, I'm detecting energy buildup in the Vespasian flagship. They're preparing to fire their main planet killer weapon. Alina's expression hardened. This was the moment she had feared, the point where the Vespasians would choose destruction over defeat. The flagship's main weapon could reduce Earth's surface to molten slag, regardless of whether they lost their fleet in the process. All power to forward shields, and the quantum mirror, she ordered. Plot an intercept course with the flagship. We need to get between them and Earth before they fire. The Phoenix surged forward, pushing its experimental drives beyond tested limits. As they approached the massive Vespasian flagship, Alina could see the crystalline structure at its heart beginning to glow with terrible energy. "They're firing," shouted Quan. "Activate quantum mirror at full capacity," Alina commanded, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped everyone on the bridge. As the devastating beam erupted from the Vespasian flagship, the space around the Phoenix warped dramatically. The beam struck the quantum field and vanished. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with terrible symmetry, a matching beam erupted from the Phoenix, striking the Vespasian flagship at precisely the point where its own weapon had fired. The crystalline structure shattered, and cascading explosions ripped through the massive vessel. "What did you do?" came the disbelieving voice of First Admiral Kelver over the communication channel. "We showed you humanity's true strength," Alina replied. "We don't just adapt. We turn our enemy's strength against them. Your weapon's energy wasn't destroyed. It was redirected. You fired on yourselves, Admiral." The remaining Vespasian ships went silent as their flagship broke apart. For long moments, Alina and her crew watched, expecting a renewed attack. Instead, a new transmission came through. "This is Science Director Mithril of the Vespasian Empire," came a different voice. "First Admiral Kelver is dead. I am assuming command of what remains of our fleet." Alina tensed, prepared for a final, desperate assault. "Commander Chen of Earth," Mithril continued, "the Vespasian Empire has conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. None have ever repelled our advance. None have ever defeated a First Admiral in battle." "There's a first time for everything," Alina replied cautiously. "Indeed," Mithril agreed, surprising Alina. "Our intelligence was flawed. We assessed your species as technologically primitive, but noted your adaptability. We failed to understand the implications of that adaptability." Alina remained silent, waiting for the alien's point. "The Vespasian Empire does not recognize defeat," Mithril stated. "But we do recognize miscalculation. We will withdraw our forces from your system, Commander Chen. Not out of fear, but out of reassessment." Alina exchanged glances with her officers. "And we're supposed to trust you'll just leave peacefully after what you've done. You have destroyed our flagship and neutralized half our fleet with a single vessel," Mithril replied. "What benefit would there be in continuing? But know this, humans. The galaxy will hear of this encounter. Some will fear you. Others will seek alliance. Still others may see you as a worthy challenge rather than easy conquest. We didn't ask to be thrust onto the galactic stage," Alina said firmly. "But we'll defend our home against any who threaten it." "Of that, Commander, I have no doubt," Mithril responded. "The Empire will remember the name Phoenix and the name Chen." In the days that followed, the Vespasian fleet withdrew from Earth orbit. Global recovery efforts began immediately, rebuilding what had been destroyed in the brief but devastating attack. The Phoenix and its technology became the template for a new fleet of defensive vessels, and Commander Alina Chen was hailed as humanity's savior. But Alina took little comfort in the accolades. She knew what Science Director Mithril's parting words really meant. Humanity was now known to the galaxy at large. The Vespasians were just one spacefaring civilization among many, and Earth's successful defense had painted a target on humanity's back. 6 months after the Vespasian encounter, Alina stood on the observation deck of the expanded Phoenix Command, watching as 5 new vessels of the Phoenix class prepared for their maiden voyage. Earth's nations had united as never before, pooling resources and setting aside ancient rivalries in recognition of the greater challenges that lay ahead. Admiral Chen. A young officer approached her, offering a data tablet. The long-range sensors have detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system. It appears to be a ship of unknown configuration. Elena accepted the tablet, studying the readings. Not Vespasian, but definitely not human either. First contact. The officer asked nervously. Elena's expression remained composed, but a gleam of determination shone in her eyes. No, Lieutenant. Second contact. And this time, we're ready. The Phoenix fleet moved out into the darkness of space, humanity's shield against whatever awaited them among the stars. They had been laughed at once. No one would make that mistake again.